YouTubers, this is another video from your friendly neighborhood reviewer Evelyn. So we're finally going to review part 2 of the K-drama fantasy series Island, starring Kim Nam-gil and the female lead of La Da-hee. If you want an explanation what the heck the island is about, see the thumbnail here or have a look on my playlist of reacting to Korean dramas. So I'm not going to waste you with part 1, but we start with part 2. Is the aftermath of Father Johan, aka the actor Cha Yoo-woo, that he had to end up killing his own brother, his long lost older brother that he managed to find. Because sadly the older brother got corrupted by Guk-tang to become like a fox demon. And of course Father Johan didn't want to kill his brother, he was hoping to exorcise the demon out. And of course Won Mi-ho, we find out that she's the reincarnation of the saint Won-jo. I remember finding the name, and she's starting to discover what's her purpose. We find out that Won-jo had like a magic powers, like a priestess, that she had the power to create the barrier on the island to seal away all the demons. So episode 7 is basically revealing what the heck happened all those years ago in Jeju Island, on the mythical island of Kdrama. So Father Johan is dealing with the repercussions, and he's there talking to the butler Jang about his intentions and his way moving forward. And of course Father Johan is very sad about the whole situation, which is understandable. So episode 7, we get a flashback as to what happened with Van and Guk-tang. The big mystery here that I find to be so inexplicable, that these so-called priests is taking children, experimenting on them, and I just find that so bizarre that nobody ran and caught on to that. But I'm telling you why this is strange, because there's a big twist that we end up finding out. So Guk-tang and Van eventually got initiated, become demon hunters, as they had to fuse together with the dagger. And of course they're being abused, mistreated, and then we get a young version of Won-jo that she also feels sad for the both of them. Because in the flashback scenes, Won-jo is there trying to see how she can help both the boys. So we see that Van has the more nicer disposition, but as we're Guk-tang, we find out that even though I initially felt sorry for him, because with Van, both of them got experimented on without not their free will, but we end up finding out later that Guk-tang was already a psycho. That when they caught him, they knew that he went and killed his parents. So, the big runaway scene that we saw in part 1, in which Won-jo went and released the both of them, we see what happened. That both little boys at the time ran off with Won-jo, but Van accidentally bit Won-jo in the arm, and she ended up collapsing due to an infection, whatever, since Van is like half demon. And of course we see Guk-tang, little boy disposition that he doesn't trust any of the humans basically. It's understandable, but of course it's not like he has a nice disposition of like, okay, maybe not everybody's bad. So they end up returning as kids, and Won-jo is deeply disturbed about what's gonna happen with Van and Guk-tang. So Won-jo goes and asks the old lady, which we see in present time also, if she were to create the barriers, could she save Van and Guk-tang? And the old lady says yes. So we get a time forward in the flashbacks that everybody's older. Won-jo returns, and she's there to seal the barriers, and she tells now the adult Van and the adult Guk-tang about her intentions. But on the top of that, we see the adult Guk-tang, with him not with the white hair. He's there mercilessly killing the humans after the demons attack, so we can see that he's just nuts. So we see Won-jo already, older, the actress of La Da-hee, and she goes and tells to the main head priest that has that big prayer reads that if you can promise me to let Guk-tang and Van go once I put up the barrier. And the priest says, yeah, I'll do that. I knew that wasn't going to end well. So Won-jo tells Guk-tang and Van about the priest agreed to let them go once she puts up the barrier. But when Won-jo leaves, Guk-tang says, do you really believe her? They're going to kill us once they see that we have no use anymore. But Van just, believes in Won-jo and says to Guk-tang, she's not like that, she won't do that. So Guk-tang's like, okay, let's see. So the night of the ceremony to put up the barrier happens. Nice special effects. In episode 7 and 8, there's good special effects of all these demons and stuff. So Won-jo's there creating the barrier, but the head priest goes and gets Van and Guk-tang to step into a box under a premise of a purification ceremony. So Won-jo's on top of the hill, and both boys and the other people are downstairs, well, down the hill, and they go into the box that has a lot of seals, and the priest orders all the other guys to go and put the box on fire. In that moment, we see that the priest wants to burn Gutan and Van alive, in which that doesn't happen. Both of them unleash their full demonic powers, and they go and kill everybody, and eventually, and the priest ends up getting killed as well. So as Van goes up to the top of the hill, wants to question Wonja if she knew, because the priest goes and tells Van before he ends up dying that Wonja went and said okay to this, because Van was always like, she would never agree to this, but the priest was like, yeah, she did. So Van goes up for himself to find out the real truth, and Wonja says, she says no in so many other words, but before any other conversations could happen, Gutan goes up to the top and he wants in a mission to kill everybody, but Van is like, she didn't know, so both of them end up fighting. So we're in the midst of the scruffles. We finally see why in the first part of the season everybody said that Van went and killed Wonja, but then when we find out that it wasn't Van's fault. He came up and there was a struggle, and basically Gutan went and pushed Wonja in front of Van's path of striking, because Van was going to strike Gutan with his dagger, but he ended up pushing Wonja in front, and Van ended up killing her, stabbing her right here. As now we know why Wan Miho has that little birthmark scar, because that would be the point of recognizing. So the old lady, the priest, she uses whatever remaining powers, the way I understood it, to seal Gutan. I think hell went and consumed him, hell, so Gutan got dragged to hell, as where Van is then tearfully carrying Wonja's body, and you know how it is, the last moments of dying, Wonja tells Van, no matter what, I'll come back to you. So Wonja promises Van before she dies that she'll be reincarnated again, and she'll fulfill her promise to set Van free of the demonic side to him, that for him to remember her by looking at the mark, finding a way for him to recognize her, and Wonja tells Van not to forget her, and she ends up going. And the last bit of the old woman has of the power, she ends up putting up a makeshift barrier maybe of the monsters not to get out, but still the monsters will be still stuck in that island. So we have a cool special effects scene. So ultimately we find out that it wasn't really Van's fault. I understand still, yes, he went and stabbed her. He was the one holding the knife, but it was like a stray bullet. Let's put it that way. And okay, so that's the end of the flashback, and then we got put forward. Episode 7 and 8 is also discovering how the hell that Gutan went and came out from wherever he was hidden all those years ago. So here's the twist. This mysterious group of people in white cloaks appear and they release Gutan, but this little girl that we see, the younger version of Bo Yomji, the one that the girl that ends up staying with the grandmother, the old woman type figure, we find out that they connected 15 years ago, that both Gutan and this little girl appeared out of nowhere, and these kind of cult-like figures went and resurrected them. And the main guy goes, is the main leader, he goes and shows Gutan that he's the one with the power. Because Gutan's like, okay, I'm gonna kill you here, which doesn't happen. So the big twist is, this is the real bad. The main guy in this white cloaks, he's the big bad, because he tells Gutan, I'm the one that controlled the priest. I can't remember what his name is. And when I found that out, I was like, oh, okay, now that makes sense. That makes sense why we have these Buddhist monks experimenting on children. Basically the head monk was possessed or mind controlled by this unknown entity. So the last 6 episodes of part 2 is going to be finding out who is the main villain. Basically, Gutan gets in line with this guy because it lines up with his own ambitions. Gutan wants to kill the girl, he wants to kill Van, he wants to kill every single human, and this big mysterious bad. I compared him a cross between, Hitler and what was the other guy? Well, let's just say Hitler. He wants to create a master race of perfect beings. So he said that his initial plan failed, but he's willing to take another chance with Gutan to see whether it can help him complete his ultimate plan. So when I saw that, I was like, whoa, okay, now that's a good twist. So, and also the other part from 7 and 8 is Wan Miho has finally had enough. She wants to, regret. She now knows that she's the reincarnated priestess of Wonjun, and she's determined to reawaken that memories of that past life, and with those memories will come the power to create the barrier again. And we also see as well Van having to come to terms with his memories and also being more protective of Won Mi-ho. And of course, we have from part 1, Won Mi-ho's best friend's fiance got murdered by, I think it was, Gutan, if I remember correctly, because his fiance was going on the way to deliver a cake to Won Mi-ho, so that bit was sad. The friend went off. The friend, I wish we had more interaction with this friend. She seemed to have a nice disposition. Even though that her fiance died on the way to going to Won Mi-ho's house, she had no resentment. She basically texted Won Mi-ho that she'll be fine, she just need to go away and be all fine. But Won Mi-ho is just so angry about losing people, so she ends up going to the old woman, talking to the old woman, and says, I need you to train me, I need you to awaken those powers. And the old woman basically tells Won Mi-ho, it's gotta be the most painful thing that you've gone through, are you sure you want to do this? And Won Mi-ho's like, I need to do this to save people. So from episode 7 to 8, we have Won Mi-ho training with the old woman. But of course, that little princess side of Won Mi-ho comes out when she goes in with some bags and her, like, fashionable clothes. And the old woman's basically telling Won Mi-ho, yeah, you can't be, training like this. So Won Mi-ho goes and dresses in the same clothes from that time, sort of like prayer clothes. And she looks identical to Wonja, which goes and unnerves Van. There's one bit of the series that isn't explained, is the little girl who's clearly still in league with Gutan, which she refers to him as Uncle Samchong, and we have no idea where the hell, they don't explain where the little girl came from, because when the men in the white cloaks released Gutan, she appeared also as well in the mud in the sea with him. So that bit they need to explain, they didn't clarify that. And of course, Van and Won Mi-ho's there in the mountain living with the old woman, also Father Johan accompanies them because he's going through his own issues, and the old lady's there kind of as a wise mentor, sage, mentoring him a little bit. And in episode 8 or 2, however you like to call it, of the second part of the series, we get a little bit more of a time jump. As the time progresses of Won Mi-ho training, we see it starting to snow, so that's a clear indication that time has passed. There's a bit weird thing of how the Koreans are now structuring the series, taking like part 1, first 6 episodes, part 2, and we could kind of see they're trying to pick up the pace with the story. I think episode 8, or however you like to refer it, I don't think they spent that much time. There was a lot, it was quite slow, the whole training scene, and as well that we just see the old woman explaining some things, and then kind of looks like the old woman explaining cliff notes to Won Mi-ho on how to create the force field. So that bit I felt it was too slow, or a bit not too much of an explanation, because you got a lot of like hand movement scenes of Won Mi-ho just sitting there. I think she should not just be sitting there, but maybe standing and doing a bit more stuff. Okay, so that's the premise of part 1, like episode 1, 2, episode 7 and 8 of The Island. You guys let me know if you've seen the episodes. It's very easy to find these things online, so you let me know your feelings towards how this story is progressing. And I repeat again, Kam Nam-gil, he's my new favorite actor, amongst Lee Jong-woo, Song Joong-ki, and like anybody, like those are my main actors at the moment. This is the end, so as I leave you always, stay safe and take care. Bye.